Welcome to the Life's Best Medicine podcast, where we are finding hope and healing one episode at a time. No appointment needed, no rubber gloves, and no copay. Just a healthy dose of life lessons to help equip you for this wild journey we call life. Hey everyone, this is a friendly reminder that we are here for entertainment purposes only. We may not even be that entertaining at times, but this is not medical advice. Talk to your doctor, check with your healthcare professionals before making any lifestyle changes or medicine changes. What we're talking about is our clinical experience and what we've seen. And so if you really want our advice, you can consult us. You can actually consult me as a doctor, or you can consult my guest and get all your questions answered. But we can't give free medical advice because we can't pay our bills with that, but we can help to educate you a bit and allow you to think a little bit. And always reach out to your medical professional before making any lifestyle changes. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Can you believe it's July already? Gosh, 4th of July is going to pass us by if it hasn't already by the time this is released. I just really appreciate my sponsors, Keto Mojo, keto-mojo.com. They are my choice for ketones and glucose monitoring. It's a great double check for continuous glucose monitors, which I highly recommend, but also following those ketones. So when we have those little barbecues, we could see if we're staying on track or whether we were as good as we thought we were. So Keto Mojo, and also I would highly recommend going to their website. They have tons of recipe, fitness tips, so much that can help you stay on your journey. Just great information, great lectures. It's all there. They put it all in one spot. So it's a great resource for my patients, and I highly recommend it. Also, Health Code, Get Health, GETHLTH.com. They're doing great work, and they also just came out with a berberine that I really like that has turmeric with it, some anti-inflammatories, helps with sugar control, and helps with the gut microbiome. There's so many benefits that we've been talking about on this podcast with a lot of the experts. So go grab some, and remember, Met Health is our discount code, METHEALTH, and that will help you stay on track and get ready for the holidays and enjoy the rest of your summer. But thanks for tuning in, and I just want to greatly thank my sponsors for keeping this podcast going and for helping bring us some great content. Hello and welcome back to the Life's Best Medicine podcast. Yes, I'm going there. I want to talk about the opening ceremonies at the Olympics. It is, to me, it was actually kind of a surprise. To tell you the truth, I never watched the opening ceremonies. I just don't enjoy that thing generally. So I wasn't really even watching it, but then my phone started ringing and a buddy of mine called and said, "Can you believe that? Did you see what just happened?" My atheist friend called me and goes, "Can you believe what they just did?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I had no idea. And then I went back and kind of watched a few minutes, and a few minutes was enough for me, and I was thinking about it, sports and the Olympics and all these things have been so tarnished by humanity, and you look back to the beginnings, and the Olympics were all about finding the best people in the world, competing against each other, dropping your religion, political beliefs, wars, whatever it might be, and competing against the best in the world. And there was always this respect. I've always seen so many people, someone gets injured and someone runs back and helps them across the finish line or raises their arms, and the camaraderie. And one of the things I noticed over the last few years is mixed martial arts, the MMA. It's really amazing. It just always intrigued me that these guys can beat the heck out of each other for 15 to 25 minutes, depending on the fight, sometimes shorter than that. But afterwards, there's this respect. They hug each other, raise each other's arms, and you think they trained to destroy the other guy or woman for months and months and months and years, and they've had these rivalries. But there's a respect level there, and you see that it's like a chess match. And they're thinking, they're seeing what the other person is going to do and counters them. And so I was thinking about it. Funny enough, I went to a sports bar of all places, and I heard some guys next to that we happened to be sharing a table, and these guys were not Christian guys. They were just kind of constructions. The language they used was pretty salty, I would say, and it was interesting. They were super offended by the opening ceremonies. And when I asked them why, like they weren't really Christian church guys, but they said, look, don't push an agenda on us. Like let us have an enjoyment. I think that really spoke to me too. And I feel the same way. It's kind of like we had in the NFL, the NBA, we had people kneeling, not standing for the national anthem and all this. And it was very divisive, and so people were divided, and half the people thought it was a good thing to do, half the people thought it was a bad thing to do. And I'm just thinking, why do we need to push an agenda when it's a sports? Like mocking the Last Supper has nothing to do with what we're there for. We're there for sports. We're there for humanity, for coming together. And then one of the first stories I heard was an Olympic judo um, athlete wouldn't shake the hands of another athlete that they had just beaten because of their religious beliefs or political beliefs. And then that person goes on to get hurt, and all these people celebrate that person getting hurt and think, wow, that's isn't that kind of not what we should be doing at the Olympics? Isn't that where we can come together? Isn't sports the melting pot? I was laughing because I was thinking about it before we talked. Ray, if you're out there, blessings, man. But when I played football in high school, a friend of mine, Ray Lucky, who happens to be African American, he had this huge run back on a punt, and it was an amazing thing. And he ran about 86 yards and got tackled from behind. And he was hit, when he got up, he was hitting the ground. He's shaking his head like, I'm never going to outlive this. This is horrible. I said, what are you talking about, Ray? Ran it back 86 yards. He goes, I got tackled from behind by a white guy. Right. And he goes, when I have to go home and tell my family they're all in the stands, this is not going to go well. Well, that guy happened to be one of the top sprinters that they actually compete against each other in track and field. But it's just hilarious how people, but the thing was, Ray was a teammate. Like we saw him as a teammate. It wasn't about color. It wasn't about what religion you are and all these things. And, sports is the great melting pot. It brings us all together. We have fans that are Chargers fans, or maybe not very many Chargers fans these days, maybe Yankees fans, but that's what brings them together. They all their differences, whatever they do, they could be construction guys, they could be, multimillionaire, and they have a passion for that sport and that team. And so it's amazing how we've divided ourselves. And I've thought about it, even not from a religious standpoint. I think mocking any religion is unacceptable, especially in an event like this where we're trying to bring people together. And the tragic thing is a lot of people aren't going to watch the Olympics based on that. And most of the athletes have trained their entire lives to compete and to be the best in the world and to walk home with that gold medal. And it's been tarnished. It's hard. It's been tarnished when politics interferes. And I was thinking about it on a bigger level, and we watched medicine get tarnished by politics, right? Certain meds we couldn't use, certain approaches, and it's come to a point where we can't even speak the truth of what we're seeing clinically, and in certain areas, California being one of them. If you say, well, men and women do have different genetics, that's politically incorrect and unacceptable, despite what all medical history has shown, right? And I think it's important that we show respect for people who are different from us, and that, maybe are transgender or homosexual, whatever it might be, that we love the person, right? But we can't leave our common sense and logic at the door either. I think if we're talking about not bullying and not being offensive, doesn't it go both ways? And I think the thing that offended the guys that I was at the sports bar with, that I didn't even know we met there, was hypocrisy. They were calling out the hypocrisy of saying, how can you say we're not going to mock, we're not going to bully, and then you spend the whole agenda mocking and bullying? And so I think we have to step back and look at our humanity at some point and saying, what do we stand for and what do we believe? I think some people on the religious side will go out of their way to mock and pick on people that don't have the same religious beliefs. And where do we drop those things at the door? And I hope this podcast is a place where we can do that. Some of my best friends are atheists, right? And they've come on the podcast. Some people that I really respect a lot have different beliefs than me. But what can we unite on? And I think that's what we've lost over the last decade, maybe, but really over the last 3 or 4 years. We separated people. We would lock people down if they had a different belief than we did, or we won't talk to family members based on who they voted for. How do we transcend these things, right? Isn't that what the Olympic spirit was about, is transcending our differences? And we speak different languages, we have different customs and different cultures, but we can still come together and compete, and we could respect each other for our athletic abilities and those things. So for me, yeah, it has been tarnished. It's hard to, especially now with the NFL and all the money that's there. And really, I think the other thing, and I think the opening ceremony did show this a lot too. And I think Greg Gutfeld has did a little tweet about this. It's really become all about me and what I want, right? As an individual, we don't look at the bigger picture. I'm saying, how do we include all the people? And instead of saying you're going to do what I want to do and you have to believe what I believe. And so somehow we have to come to this point where we can respect each other and disagree, respectfully disagree. Some people are carnivore, some people are vegan, some people are whatever, Muslim or Christian. But I think we can all say, hey, don't be a hypocrite, right? If you're going to say let's be tolerant, then you have to be tolerant of the Christians and the Muslims and all the other religions out there that may be different than your lack of religion, maybe. And for a Christian, you have to be tolerant of other people and see, doesn't mean we don't watch the Olympics. I don't know. For me, it's kind of tarnished, and I want to really forget about the world when I'm watching sports and watching people compete. I want to see, and we will see a lot of humanitarian and humanity of people being compassionate and kind to each other and overcoming their differences. There's going to be a lot of that there too. So do you throw the baby out with the bathwater? I don't know. But at some point, we stand up for what we believe and say, look, this is unacceptable as a country to be divided by race, by religious beliefs, or medicine beliefs. We went to a point, and I was shocked. I never thought it would happen in this country where religious exemptions were not allowed. And if you're a doctor and you wrote a religious exemption for someone for vaccination purposes, at least, you can lose your medical license. But how is that possible? I think we've come to a point where we become so intolerant of each other, and then we all look at each other as the intolerant ones. And I think we're looking at a situation right now in Israel where we're having vengeance on both sides. It's a tough one because each side's going to make the other one look like the total bad person. But maybe what we have to realize is all of us have that. We have the worst of humanity in us and the best. So which of those things are we going to nourish, right? What are we going to focus on, the positive and the good? How do we overlook our differences? I think these are huge questions that we haven't done a good job of, right? As a society, we're not going to legislate these things. It's really going to come down to heart and belief and humanity and being kind and decent. And I'm hoping this podcast does reach people and say, let me think for myself here. Let me reassess what is true and what is not true, what is good and what is bad, and what is acceptable. And I think these are huge questions. We want to be tolerant, we want to be kind, but we can't put our wives and kids in jeopardy too. I don't like the idea of a 6'4" male transgender in the bathroom with my young daughters. I just don't like the idea. I think it's a recipe for disaster, but we all have to go with our own comfort level and figure things out. And but I think out of that, showing kindness and respect to that same person, just having boundaries. And I think in life we have to have boundaries. We have to figure out what works, and maybe certain things you don't talk about. There's certain things they say you don't talk about in public, or religion, politics, right, sex, all these things. But it seems like that's become the norm. Now we're talking to second graders about sexual preferences and all these things. Shouldn't we be teaching math and science and all these places where we're falling apart? I would think it was strange if a friend of mine was talking about his sexuality with my daughter when she was in third grade. It would be strange. It wouldn't be normal. But now all of a sudden it's become normal, and to question it is abnormal. So hopefully, as a society, we start stepping back and taking a breath and saying, yes, we want to be inclusive. We want to be kind to people, but where are the boundaries? What do we do to help other people who may not feel the same as you do, right? If someone feels uncomfortable in a situation, do we force them to be uncomfortable to make someone else comfortable? At some point, we're all going to be offended at something. Or there's something that's not going to go our way, or we're not going to agree with, and that's okay. We have to step back and assess the situation and look at it and say, okay, let's try to be reasonable. Let's sit down at the table and talk and see how we can make everyone kind of, hopefully, if we're reasonable people, how do we make concessions and not force our views on other people? And I understand that, the religious community over the years has been so dominating of everything, and now it's swung the other way. So how do we get to meet in the middle where it's okay to have beliefs? And I think the other thing is, if someone has a different religious belief than you, then learn from them. Say, why do you like your religion? What do you not like about your religion? What's cool about it? And to be able to sit down, and I hope I can always do that with this podcast, is talk to people who may have a different view than myself. I've had people say, why did you bring that person on who has this different belief? Because I think that's what we're called to do, is learn from each other and get to know each other as people, right? And to respect each other and be kind. If we separate ourselves based on all these things that we can, we're never going to come together, and we're never going to have success. So I know the Olympics, it was a tough one for a lot of people. I know a lot of people aren't going to be watching. And if you don't, then find something positive to do. Go and help people, reach out to your community. Go to the homeless shelter, go help the orphans, go do something positive with that negative energy of being upset about what you saw. So I just wanted to throw that out there. This is my 2 cents on it, and we can move on, and hopefully we learn from mistakes, because otherwise history repeats itself over and over. And I've seen that over the last few years. History repeats itself. And so hopefully, if we don't learn the lesson, it's not that we get rid of all the old history, but we learn from the mistakes of the past and we move forward, just like everything in life. So be kind to yourself, be kind to others. I hope this helped to clarify some things, or at least tell you where I stand on it. And hopefully it makes you think. And I think you can open that conversation with friends and family, and hopefully we'll kind of come to some kind of an agreement on these things. So have a great week. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to this episode. We greatly appreciate your support. We would greatly appreciate a positive thumbs up on all of the platforms like iTunes and Spotify, or wherever you're listening. And we just thank you for our Patreon supporters. We greatly appreciate your help in getting this message out. We think there's a lot of important information, and hopefully this helps you. Have a great day, and thank you for listening, and thank you for your support.